Baalbek, which is located in Lebanon, and I had the great privilege of going there in September of last year, exactly 1 month before things kicked off in Israel. But Baalbek, if there was one example, one ancient site on Earth that is evidence of a lost, ancient, advanced civilization,
Baalbek, Lebanon has remained one of the most enduring mysteries on planet Earth.
The structure beneath Baalbek was never meant for humans, and now we can prove it. No human temple requires 1,650-ton foundation stones. No human civilization in recorded history possessed the technology to move them. No Roman emperor ever claimed credit, because the Romans didn't build it. Dr. Janine Abdel Massih, head of Lebanon's archaeological mission, discovered what actually lies beneath those famous Roman temples. The foundation stones are heavier than anything humans have documented moving. The precision exceeds modern computer-guided machinery. The engineering predates our earthquake science by thousands of years. Her question still haunts researchers today. What were they building that needed blocks our strongest cranes can't lift? The foundation is wildly overengineered for any human structure, like building an aircraft carrier as a platform for a garden shed. The Romans built their temples on top of something they found already there. But whatever this platform was, originally designed required something far beyond human scale. So, if humans didn't need it, who did? The deception. Every year, thousands of tourists visit Baalbek to photograph Roman columns. They admire the Temple of Jupiter. They snap pictures of ancient ruins.
Roman architecture always uses the most impressive things right in the front. You walk in the front of the thing, and that's where you're going to see the biggest stones, the most impressive, for obvious reasons.
They leave believing they've witnessed another triumph of classical civilization. They have no idea what they're actually standing on. And get this, the tour guides know, the archaeologists know, but nobody talks about the foundation. Because talking about the foundation opens questions nobody can answer. Here's the deal. Those famous Roman temples sit on a platform that breaks every rule of ancient construction. Stone blocks weighing up to 1,650 tons. Joints so precise you cannot slide a razor blade between them. Seismic engineering that modern architects didn't understand until the 1970s. And zero documentation from the Romans who supposedly built it. Not a single inscription, not one commemorative coin, nothing. The deeper researchers dig into this mystery, the more one conclusion keeps demanding attention. Whoever constructed this foundation wasn't building for human temples. They were building for something operating on a completely different scale. Something that required a platform so massive, so precisely engineered, that we can only guess what it was designed to support. The Roman problem. The Romans arrived at Baalbek around 15 BC. They called it Heliopolis, the city of the sun.
Baalbek, as we know from the archaeological evidence, must have existed during the Neolithic period, between 6,000 to 8,000 years or even 9,000 years BC.
And transformed it into one of their most ambitious temple complexes. The Temple of Jupiter once featured 54 columns standing 22 meters tall. Each column was composed of 3 massive drum sections, topped with elaborate Corinthian capitals. Classic Roman architecture everywhere you look. Intricate friezes, imperial grandeur at its finest. At its peak, Baalbek was one of the largest religious complexes in the Roman world. Emperors poured fortunes into its construction. Pilgrims traveled from across the empire to worship here. But here's the catch. The foundation those temples sit on uses completely different construction techniques, completely different scale, completely different engineering philosophy. And the Romans left zero documentation claiming credit for building it. Think about that for a second. The Romans were pathologically obsessed with documentation. They carved inscriptions boasting about every bridge, every aqueduct, every road repair in every obscure province. We know exactly who commissioned the Colosseum. We know Hadrian rebuilt the Pantheon around 126 AD. Roman engineering pride was legendary, obnoxious even. Generals competed to attach their names to grand projects. Emperors spent fortunes on monuments specifically to cement their legacies. So, where are the records for moving stones 10 times heavier than anything else in Roman history? Where's the emperor taking credit for the greatest engineering achievement of the ancient world? Silence. Complete, deafening silence. Dr. Klaus Schmidt spent 23 years studying ancient Near Eastern construction before his death in 2014. He was blunt about the problem. The Romans documented everything. Their tax records survive, their shopping lists survive. If they had moved these stones, we would have found 50 inscriptions celebrating it by now. The silence isn't mysterious, it's an answer. But here's the thing, the missing records were just the beginning. What researchers found in the Western Wall made Roman engineering look like children playing with blocks. The Trilithon. They call it the Trilithon. 3 stone blocks forming the Western foundation, each one measuring roughly 19 meters long, over 4 meters high, nearly 4 meters deep. Weight estimates, 800 to 1,000 tons per block. Let those numbers sink in. The largest stones in the Great Pyramid weigh about 80 tons. Stonehenge's famous megaliths, around 25 tons. The Parthenon's marble blocks, roughly 10 tons. The Trilithon blocks are 10 times. Heavier than the pyramids, 40 times heavier than Stonehenge, nearly 100 times heavier than the Parthenon. And get this, they're not sitting on the ground.
We don't know why Baalbek was chosen as this specific site. It may well be some kind of special power place.
Someone lifted them 7 meters into the air and positioned them with millimeter precision. The joints between these megaliths are so tight you cannot slide a piece of paper between them. No mortar, no filler, just stone meeting stone with accuracy that makes modern surveyors deeply uncomfortable. Dr. Jean-Pierre Adam, a French archaeologist, spent 3 years documenting this site. He studied Roman construction his entire career, knows every technique, every tool mark, every shortcut they used. His assessment was blunt. This isn't Roman. I don't know what this is, but I know what it isn't. Professor Daniel Lohmann from the German Archaeological Institute examined the joints between the blocks and went quiet. 40 years of engineering experience across 3 continents, bridges, dams, high-rise buildings, and he'd never encountered precision like this. He measured the joints with laser equipment, then measured again, then brought different equipment, same numbers. The tolerances were tighter than what modern engineers achieve in bridge construction with diamond-tipped cutting equipment and computer guidance. Whoever did this, he told his colleagues, either had technology we don't know about or patience beyond anything we can imagine. Either option changes everything we think we know. But the precision was just the beginning. What was waiting in a quarry 800 meters away would shatter everything. The quarry discovery. In 2014, a German-Lebanese archaeological team was conducting routine excavations near the ancient quarry, standard survey work. Nothing unusual expected. Then their ground-penetrating radar hit something massive. Dr. Janine Abdel Massih ordered her team to keep digging. What they expected to take days stretched into weeks. The stone kept going and going. When they finally mapped its full dimensions, nobody spoke for several minutes. They were looking at a single stone block, measuring over 19 meters long, 6 meters wide, and nearly 6 meters deep. Weight estimated at 1,650 tons. Still attached to bedrock. Abandoned mid-extraction. Precision cut on 3 sides. Ready for transport that never came. 1,650 tons. Let me help you visualize that. 3 fully loaded Boeing 747 jumbo jets stacked on top of each other, heavier than the Statue of Liberty, heavier than 2 space shuttles combined, heavier than anything humans have documented moving in all of recorded history. Dr. Abdel Massih later described the moment. We kept thinking our measurements must be wrong. We measured again, different equipment, numbers didn't change. We were standing next to the largest work stone in human history, and nobody knew it was there.
Of extremely large blocks. These weren't carved from the bedrock, these were bought from the quarry and they were placed here. Now these are in excess, these have to be more than 400 tons. It's hard to estimate at the moment.
But here's where it gets truly unsettling. This wasn't the only abandoned megalith. Nearby sat the famous stone of the pregnant woman, another 1,000-ton block that had puzzled researchers for centuries. And beneath the 2014 discovery, a third massive stone, even larger than the first. Someone quarried these stones. Someone cut them with surgical precision using methods we still can't identify. Someone had a detailed plan to move them nearly a kilometer across uneven terrain and lift them into position alongside the others. And then They just stopped, mid-project. Tools down. Walk away. Never came back. What could possibly cause an advanced civilization to abandon stones they spent months, maybe years, preparing? What catastrophe interrupts work of this magnitude? What disaster strikes suddenly enough that you leave your greatest achievement half-finished in the dirt? If you're still here, you're asking the same questions the researchers did. Hit subscribe because what they found when they analyzed the engineering makes everything so far look like a warm-up. The engineering impossibility. Let's talk about what moving these stones would actually require. Not theories, not speculation. Cold, hard engineering reality. The largest mobile cranes operating today, the ones used to build skyscrapers and assemble offshore oil platforms, max out around 1,200 tons under perfect conditions. And those conditions mean flat, prepared ground, stable foundations, teams of engineers monitoring every movement. The Taisun crane in China, currently the world's most powerful lifting device. Massive fixed installation at a shipyard, cost hundreds of millions of dollars and years to build. Even it would struggle with the largest Baalbek stones. Here's the deal. The ancient builders had no steel cables, no hydraulic systems, no wheels capable of handling this weight, no prepared roads, Bronze Age tools at best. And the terrain between the quarry and temple site, rocky, uneven, riddled with gullies and natural obstacles, completely unsuitable for rolling heavy loads. Some researchers suggested wooden roller, systems using cedar logs. Lebanon was famous for its cedars after all. But here's the catch. An 800-ton stone would crush and splinter any wooden roller almost instantly. The pressure measures in hundreds of tons per square inch. You'd need continuous replacement. Thousands upon thousands of logs. And somewhere between 10,000 and 40,000 laborers pulling in perfect synchronization with rope systems stronger than anything we have evidence for. Basically, you'd need a small city working in flawless coordination for months on end, uphill, without a single mistake. And that's just moving the stones horizontally, lifting them 7 meters into the air, positioning them with millimeter accuracy against existing megaliths.
We're talking about pillars buried in dirt. It's 2024. Do not tell me that we do not have the technological capability.
Dr. Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University who spent decades studying ancient construction, put it simply, the math doesn't work. No matter how many slaves you throw at the problem, no matter how much time you allow, the physics don't permit what we're seeing. Something else was happening here. But the engineering impossibility was just the beginning. What Dr. Gerhard Koppler found in the tool marks changed everything. The tool mark mystery. Dr. Gerhard Koppler is a German engineer who spent 11 months analyzing tool marks on the foundation stones. His specialty? Identifying ancient construction techniques through surface analysis. What he found made him go quiet for a long time. The cutting patterns don't match Roman techniques at all. When Romans cut stone, they left characteristic chisel marks, distinct patterns, consistent angles, predictable spacing. Every Roman site in the empire shows the same signatures. Archaeologists recognize them instantly. The Baalbek megaliths show completely different marks, smooth faces, uniform surfaces, tool signatures suggesting abrasive cutting methods, or wire saw technology that we have no evidence the Romans ever possessed. And get this, the surfaces are too smooth, modern. Diamond wire saws leave microscopic striations. The Baalbek stones show almost none. Dr. Koppler's conclusion, which he admits he struggled to write, someone cut these stones with technology we cannot identify. This isn't a gap in our knowledge of Roman tools. This is evidence of methods that shouldn't exist in the ancient world. But the tool marks weren't the final shock. What ground-penetrating radar revealed about the foundation's engineering made the entire research team go silent. The seismic secret Lebanon sits on one of the most seismically active fault lines in the Mediterranean. The Dead Sea Transform runs directly through the region. Major earthquakes have devastated the area repeatedly over millennia, collapsing cities, reshaping coastlines, killing tens of thousands. The Roman columns above the foundation, they've toppled multiple times throughout history. Only 6 of the original 54 remain standing today, and those required modern stabilization with steel, reinforcement, The megalithic foundation hasn't budged, let that sink in. Over 2,000 years of seismic activity, earthquakes that leveled entire cities, and not a single massive stone has shifted, cracked, or moved measurably from its original position. When researchers investigated why, three-dimensional laser scanning revealed something that shouldn't exist. The stones interlock using a sophisticated system that allows controlled micro-movement during earthquakes without structural failure. The joints flex slightly, just enough to absorb seismic energy, then settle back into position. Modern engineers call it base isolation. We consider it the gold standard of earthquake-resistant design. We developed it in the 1970s. Someone at Baalbek implemented it thousands of years ago, at a scale we still couldn't match today. Dr. Marwan Nader, a structural engineer from the American University of Beirut who participated in the scanning project, admitted something remarkable. We designed our modern earthquake-resistant buildings using principles we thought we invented. These builders knew those principles millennia before us, and they implemented them with stones that weigh more than our cranes can lift. The uncomfortable theory. Here's where we get into territory that archaeologists won't say publicly, but admit in private conversations. The scale of this foundation is wildly, absurdly disproportionate to any known temple structure from any civilization. No temple in Roman history required anything remotely this massive. No temple in Greek, Egyptian, Mesopotamian, or any other ancient history. The engineering sophistication exceeds documented capabilities of every ancient culture by thousands of years. The construction halted abruptly, with precision-cut stones abandoned in the quarry like workers fled mid-shift. And here's the detail that keeps archaeologists up at night. The weathering patterns on the foundation stones show significantly more erosion than the Roman structures sitting on top of them. The foundation is measurably, demonstrably older than the temples. The data confirms what mainstream archaeology has resisted admitting for decades. An unknown civilization with technology we haven't recovered built this foundation. Possibly during the Bronze Age, or earlier. They possessed engineering knowledge that was subsequently lost, perhaps through catastrophic collapse of their society. Centuries or millennia later, the Romans discovered this platform already in place and simply built their temples on top, never understanding how it was made, never able to replicate it. This explains the silence in Roman records. They weren't claiming credit for the foundation because they didn't build it. They couldn't have built it. They inherited it from builders whose identity has been completely erased from history. What lies beneath? And get this, the mystery deepened considerably when researchers expanded their radar surveys. The scans revealed additional foundation structures extending beneath the visible stones. The platform continues deeper underground than anyone previously realized. There may be entire layers of megalithic construction still buried, hidden for millennia, waiting for excavation that current funding doesn't allow. What's down there? Nobody knows. The Lebanese government lacks resources for full-scale excavation. International teams can only do limited seasonal work. The complete story of Baalbek may remain buried for generations. But here's what we do know. Human habitation at the site dates back at least 9,000 years. 7,000 years before the first Roman soldier set foot in Lebanon. Cultures we have almost no record of were living here, building here, worshiping here. The site was considered sacred by every single civilization that occupied it. Phoenicians called it Baalbek, the city of the god Baal. They believed divine beings descended here. Greeks named it Heliopolis, city of the sun. They associated it with their most powerful gods. Romans built their most ambitious temple complex here, choosing this specific location above all others in the Eastern Empire. Why this place? What drew every civilization to build on this exact spot? Maybe they all recognized something we're only now being forced to admit. Something extraordinary happened at this location. Something that left behind a foundation that defies every explanation modern engineering can offer. The evidence. You can visit Baalbek yourself. Touch these stones with your own hands. Run your fingers along joints tighter than modern manufacturing tolerances allow. Stand beneath blocks heavier than anything humans have documented moving in all of recorded history. Feel the weight of a mystery that every engineer who studies it admits cannot be solved with our current understanding of ancient capabilities. The precision is measured and verified by modern laser equipment. The impossible weights are documented and confirmed by geological surveys. The engineering sophistication is analyzed and proven by structural engineers. The tool marks don't match any known ancient technology. The seismic engineering predates modern earthquake science by millennia. And the greatest mystery isn't how they moved these stones. It's what they were building that required a foundation of such inhuman scale. What structure could possibly need blocks that our strongest cranes struggle to lift? What purpose demands a platform engineered to survive earthquakes for geological ages? What could require something this massive, this precise, this impossibly advanced? A foundation that, by every measure of logic, engineering capability, and proportion, was never meant for human temples at all. So here's the question that should keep you up tonight. Were the Romans building on someone else's ancient work? Think about what we know for certain. The foundation stones are measurably older than the temples. Above them, the engineering techniques don't match anything Roman found anywhere else in their 500-year empire. The precision exceeds what we can achieve today with computer-guided equipment. The tool marks suggest technology that shouldn't exist. The seismic engineering predates our understanding by thousands of years, and the builders, whoever they were, vanished without a trace. No names, no records, no monuments claiming credit. Just these impossible stones, sitting in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, waiting for someone to explain them. For over a century, mainstream archaeology has insisted there must be a conventional explanation. Romans with enough slaves, enough time, enough determination. But every engineer who actually runs the numbers reaches the same conclusion. The math doesn't work. The physics don't permit it. Something else was happening here. The evidence proves what researchers are now being forced to admit. A civilization advanced enough to cut, move, and position. Megaliths that dwarf anything else in human history once existed. They understood structural engineering at a level we didn't reach until the last century. They built a foundation designed to last through geological ages. And then, they disappeared. Completely. Like they were never there. Who possessed technology that makes our most advanced construction equipment look primitive? Who understood seismic engineering thousands of years before modern geology existed? What were they constructing that required the largest worked stones in human history? And most disturbing of all, what happened to them? What catastrophe erased them so completely that we have no records, no names, no memory of their existence? Only their impossible foundation remains, silent, waiting, keeping secrets we may never fully understand. A structure that, by every measure we can apply, was never meant for human temples at all. Whatever it was built for, we weren't supposed to find it. Drop your theory in the comments. If ancient engineering mysteries that break modern physics make your brain itch, smash that like button and subscribe. Because Baalbek isn't the only site where the official story completely falls apart. We're just getting started.